What does Shabbos mean to you? This is Chani Schreiber, and I'd love to delve deeper into this question. So join me in this weekly podcast as we uplift the Shabbos together. We're going to be learning from the book called Shabbos, A Day to Create Yourself, and it's by Rabbi Dr. Warren Goldstein. And I'd really like to thank him and his team and Rabbi Myerson, especially for sending me these books. And what we're going to be discussing today is the fourth chapter, and it's about character. Character is I found this quite an interesting subject. So in the next 11 chapters, we discuss how does Shabbos help us build our character? How does Shabbos shape us one character trait at a time? So the whole book is about how we connect to ourselves, how we connect through what we learn from Shabbos. The word character translates to the word midas. Midas is the Hebrew word for character, okay? And what midas means is, another way of saying midas, by the way, is midot. And what midos means is measurement, okay? So what is measurement? Measurement is, how do you measure something? So how do we explain midos? They are our dimension of as people. So a person could be described, his physical things would be your height, your width. And if somebody wanted to know, who is that person? They would say, oh, do you know that tall girl with the blonde hair? These are the outside midos, right? The physical stuff, right? And the character traits, what do they describe? They describe us in the moral and spiritual terms. So in the physical world, what we can achieve relies on our physical proportions, like I said before. And in the non-physical world, what we achieve is in the proportion of our midos. So what does that mean? You know how you say, I got the measure of the person very quickly. I don't know if you've ever used that expression. So what it means is, like, you're going someplace and you see somebody, they always say first intuition. You're out with someone and you talk to them, and within 5 minutes, some people could say it anyways. I know I'm very good at judging a character. And I'll say, oh, I got her measure already. It's not so great, but it's the truth. You do find that you have a feeling about somebody, the inside characteristics of the person. And that's what we mean by the spiritual measurement. It means that you could feel what the person is, the inside. It's not only the looks. You have something you can add.
I think when you go into a room of people you haven't met before and you look around, it's that kind of, where are you going to go? And you kind of make for a certain face or a certain kind of person, and you feel that it's okay to be there with them, even though you've never met them before and know nothing about them. And I think that's what you're talking about when you say
Leah wasn't. That's what we had, didn't we? We met. Okay, now this is really interesting because we met
one summer ago, I think.
Okay, I went to Eretz Yisrael. I was asked to speak by what was it, like a retreat or something?
Yes, yeah.
Right, and I came up to retreat. I spoke, and then for breakfast, I really loved it. I had a great time, and I decided I'm staying more than I thought I would stay. And by breakfast, I walked down, and I walked into this room filled with people. It was in Tzfat. It was the most beautiful, beautiful hotel, and it was right near the sea. It wasn't in Tzfat. It was in Tveria. I'm sorry. Yeah. And I walked into this room, and there were so many people, and I was thinking, where am I going to sit? I was so uncomfortable. It was just like I didn't know anyone. A lot of these women knew each other from coming back for years. And I just sat down, and I sat down near her, and we ended up having such a nice discussion. And it's like you say, you have sometimes a feeling of a person. You do. Yeah. And so that is what the character is. You feel the character. You see the physical, but you feel the character. You see what you say?
But feeling the energy or the reading the room. In America,
right. Esty, what'd you say?
Yeah, I said it's sometimes it's the external, but then when you start talking, then you get to feel the
internal.
The internal.
Yeah, sometimes we judge. We do sometimes judge each other wrongly, definitely. But I still feel that there's something that comes out. You do feel a certain connection or you don't. Sometimes you don't feel it. And when you get to know that person, you think, oh, why didn't I give her a chance? That's a different issue. But first, I'm talking about the thing that we see right away is a characteristic of a person. Okay, so the next 11 chapters are made up of character traits that keeping Shabbos activates. And these are just a portion of the actual characteristics. There's so many more, but we're going to discuss 11 that are written in the book. So I'm just going to go through them, and then we'll slowly each week go through, these particular ones. Okay. So we have humility, stillness. Stillness is an interesting one to me because I didn't realize that would be part of the midas, but it is, because stillness is about being able to not fluster and get all crazy. It's just being still. And that's a step, a characteristic. It's interesting. Okay, wisdom, trust, gentleness, generosity, optimism, growth, rooting, idealism, and transcendence. Now, these are all interesting characters, and I'd love to see what he's going to say every week about them, because it's an interesting subject. I try not to read too much in advance because I want to be able to come up with something that week. So these are what we're going to go through. I just want to make sure. Okay, so I don't want to keep this more than a half hour. So what I'm going to do today is, the next thing I'm going to do is I want to introduce Leah. But before I do, I just want to say one thing. The word Shabbos, okay, is if you have a pen, you can write it down. Shabbos, bo, tashiv, return, okay? So it is, with Shabbos comes return. What does that mean? That Shabbos was specifically given for teshuvah, which is very interesting. The whole Shabbos, the rest part of it, everything about Shabbos is about teshuvah. And how do you do teshuvah? Really, how do you do it? You work on your midas, you work on your traits, your characteristics, you work on your kindness, you work on your giving, you work on all these things is what brings teshuvah. And I thought that was what we're talking about with Leah is about that. So every week I'm going to Mitzvah bring somebody in for this part. And what I want to do is discuss different things that Shabbos, we can even have, let's say, one week Missy, if you would give it, because what I feel is each of us have something to add about Shabbos, and it's what it's done for me. And Missy kept a whole Shabbos the first time when she came to my house. So it'll be really interesting for us to hear her excitement at it.
And difficulties.
I didn't say anything. It was interesting for her. Okay, Leah Fuchs,
I live in Ramat Beit Shemesh.
Oh, that's right. And this week she put onto the group a whole thing about Challah that went on in an army base. And to me, it sounded like you were so impressed, really impressed.
It was really unbelievable. And taking from your talk about Shabbos, this week's parsha is Parshas Korach, and we know that Parshas Korach is all to do with how people are separating themselves. Even good people, Korach was a good person, and separating themselves from where they should be, who they should be, misunderstanding everything, and it causes huge destruction. And I thought it was so interesting, be able to connect that with what I went yesterday, a friend of mine in Lynn Myers, and she and her husband around 11 years ago opened up a special place in a place that doesn't have from people in at all, in Emek Rephaim. And it's like a place where there's very wealthy people, tourists, but not really people there wasn't really a shul or a community feeling. So they've been working for many years with whoever wants to come through their door. We're doing Shabbos, and it's grown from being a minyan. So he now has kollels and programs. It's turned into something else entirely. And one of the things they do is loan soldiers, people who come to Israel, volunteer to be a soldier, and they don't have family, and they need a support system. So Rabbi Myers, for many years, has taken that upon himself to look after these lone soldiers like a father. And she, of course, being the wife, so, she's hosting, but she's also a career woman. She really is. She's a high-level architect. I don't know how she manages. She has 10 kids, but she's a supreme, wonderful human being. So she phoned me up yesterday, like not yesterday, the day before yesterday, and said, listen, I'm doing this hafreshat challah. We've started to go around to different army bases for the women at the army bases.
Okay, so let me just
Yes.
interrupt. Hafreshat challah is when we take the challah from the dough and we make the blessing on the challah dough. And it's really instead of by the Kohen, right? They used they gave it to the Kohen, but in our days we just separate it and we put it in the fire. Continue.
It's a very powerful bracha to make and to have, and people have been getting together to do hafreshat challah together to protect our nation. And it's a very unifying thing. So she went around to the bases with her husband originally just to see the lone soldiers, but she saw there were all these chayelets, all these fighters, these female fighters, and there was like nothing for them. So she doesn't speak good Ivrit, so she started to speak to them and talk with them and see what they wanted. And she was bringing them little kits because they're not allowed off the base. They're literally fighting with their machine guns, those kind of girls. So so she brought tweezers, nail polish, like whatever you want, I'm going to bring to you. Just tell me what you want. What can I bring you? So they gave her a list, and she's been bringing these kits around to not only one base, but to all different bases here in Israel. And it's taken off. She said the other day she had a donor for around $50,000 when they heard what she was doing. And they wanted lists of stuff, and they're shipping it in, to help as much as they can help. So part of this was her husband said, listen, we're dealing with the Gashmias, let's deal with the inner person, like you were just talking about now, the midas of the person. So these are girls who are not from obviously religious homes. So they decided they were going to do hafreshat challah because the girls seem to really love that. They connect to it. And there's a Rabbanit who's Sephardi, and she puts on music and she speaks Ivrit to them, and she gets everyone in the mood. It was like the most amazing experience. So she was telling me about this. I work with very secular people, which in Israel is a very unusual thing. Mostly if you're from, you work in a from school. If you're not from, you work in a not from school. Everything is very segregated here. Not always, but let's say a lot. So I've been working for 30 years with secular people. So I said, yeah, this sounds great. I really want to come out there. I really want to be with these chayelets. I really know this population. And she said, well, listen, you should know we're going to Re'aim. Re'aim was one of the places that was from October 7th. Overrun, and she said maybe you're going to feel a little bit like you don't want to come. There's lots of people I ask and they don't want to come. I said no, this is for a huge mitzvah. I'll get a bracha from my husband, and I'll get a bracha from my sons, and they're in learning. So Bezrat Hashem, if they say I can go, it's fine. So they said of course, and we went. And I put up some of the films I took, raw film from that, and you should see. The Rabbanit said which girls want to make the challah with me, and all of them did. We had around over 100 girls there, and then she said, okay, I'm going to choose 2 girls. So she said, who doesn't have a father? And one of the girls put up her hand, and she said, who doesn't have a mother? And another girl she goes, you two are going to have the zechus. and they were crying because they were having the zechus, and the army base gave us the shul to do this in. And it was the most electrified. I mean, it was like when you go to shul on Kol Nidre night. It was so expectant. It was an electrified atmosphere. And after we did the lush, we were watching her do the lushing. She said, now we're at each stage, she stopped and she gave cards out for different prayers to be said. The girls took them and they were so happy to say any tefillot. Remember, it's Israel, so everyone understands the Lashon. For them, it's their language. And then she said, before we make the bracha, we're in such a special place. We're in the Bet Knesset of a base that was 7 months ago. Terrible things were going on for our people. So it's such a special time. So we opened up the Aron HaKodesh, and she said, Shema, I'm telling you, it was the most unbelievable feeling with all of these girls who, like, I don't know when they all knew Shema. That was probably the only tefillah that they actually knew. And they said Shema, and there was so much crying and tears. And these are not girls who keep Shabbat or, anything much. I was talking to one of them, and her parents are in Poland. She's from the Ukraine. She came here. She wants to serve here. All different kinds of girls from all different kinds of backgrounds are fighting in this war for Klal Yisrael. And it really is Klal Yisrael, because whatever will happen here will be affecting everybody. So we said Shema together, and there were so many tears. And then there was Hafrashas Challah. Each orphan got to make the bracha. And when she was making the bracha, the Rabbanit said, listen, your father is getting a lot of zechus from this. Before she made the bracha, and she had cards, she said, say this with the zechus to understand your father's looking down at you. It was not a dry eye in the house. And the same with the girl who didn't have a mother. And then afterwards, everyone was dancing and singing. It was the most beautiful, beautiful event. I can't even say enough. I've had my own simcha. My own son got married 2 weeks ago, and it was, I would say, at least as beautiful as that wedding was for me. It was the most moving thing. And then afterwards, there was Rabbi Myers wasn't in the room while we're doing all of this, in case because there's singing and everything. He didn't stay in the shul. And then afterwards, we had a big Suda that he brought with. Remember, they're in the middle of nowhere. So he brought meat, he brought salads, he brought lots of things. And then the last thing we gave out were these little bags, care bags for the chayelets, whatever they need in them. So these little kits. And they were so appreciative. They didn't come just to get their care bag, because they could have come just at the end. I mean, no one's going to stop them. They came through the whole thing. They were so happy. Everyone was taking pictures and selfies. It was the most amazing thing. And I just thought, I have to publicize this. This is what Klal Yisrael is about. And these girls are going to be asking questions. They're going to be wanting to know. One girl said that she feels dead inside. She's leaving the army in about a few weeks, and she feels her neshama is dead, and she wants this. She wants to know all about Yadut. She wants to know about Shabbat and Kashrut. She wants to know about how to be married properly. Everything. They're so thirsty for this. I can't even.
I think with the war, it's opened up so many of all of us. It's not only these girls. I think all over the world, there's opened up a closeness again to relating to Hashem, because I think we're so frightened of what these in other countries. I don't know, Missy, I don't know what's going on in America as much as here, but we're having a vote on July 4th, which is tomorrow.
I know.
And in it, do you know how many councils are being run by Islamists? It's very scary. Yeah. Did you realize, Esty, that that's going on? That so many councils are being run by Islamists.
Yeah, Hackney is run full of Muslims everywhere.
I know. And I've heard 2 stories this week. in your area, which is supposedly, you know, we're very Jewish there, but it was really frightening. One woman went to the hospital just to get she heard her, and there was somebody screaming and shouting at her, "You Jew, I hate Jews." And this is an old woman. She was
Just curious, is it out of, so is the population there more Arab? Or is it just because they are more outspoken? Like I'm just wondering about
I
the
think the population and the people with the
population is so
money
big.
in this
Like in
country
Canada,
are the
same
Muslims.
problem.
They
Yeah,
own, I mean, they do. They own a lot of land and a lot of government things. So I think, you know, getting back to what you were saying, because I'm going to go on a tangent over there, but what I'm trying to say is that we all need, I mean, a lot of people are coming back closer. Back doesn't mean that, you know, tomorrow I'm going to be going to shul 3 times a day. That's not my back. My back means they're getting closer to Hashem.
Yeah.
They're finding a connection that means something. And I think that's what's happening. And I think that's what you felt there.
We really felt it. And not only that, I mean, from October 7th, the army, however, like with the fighters, even the most, let's say, distanced fighters who are not part of anything religious, every chayal wears tzitzit. Not because anyone makes them, they want them. There's a constant demand for tzitzit, because of course they make them, but they can't fight without tzitzit. It's the most unbelievable thing. There's so many different things I could tell you. I mean, I don't want to go off on tangents either, but
I'm really glad. You know something, Leah, it's very weird because a few months ago, I wanted to start, I wanted to put together like a podcast like I'm doing with this. I wanted to put it together about the war and how it's bringing the different factions in Eretz Yisrael together. All over the world, actually. It's bringing a lot of the Jewish pie, as I call it, you know, the big cake that's divided into loads of slices. They're becoming more of a unit. And
it is, but it's like, but it's their style, meaning that what I've personally seen at work with people who aren't at all religious is that you're not going to get them to suddenly dress up and look like someone Haredi or cover their hair or whatever. You may get a very one person who'll suddenly wear a kippah, but otherwise they don't look any different. But when you speak to them and when you see that they want to know now, they want to know about brachot, they want to know about anything. Yeah, there's an openness now. Like, I really want to know. This is the most important stuff. Like one person said, we all know that the politicians and the army can't save us. We know that. Only Hashem can save us. And if you saw the lady who said this, she's like in a gufia and tight clothes or whatever it is. You would never believe a person like that if you just look on the outside, which is also what you were talking about, and not the inside. The inside, she's more Haredi than a lot of people who are
Haredi.
Yes, who are living here. So her feeling, her closeness to Hashem, she said, I don't understand why there's still people who are not here. So I said, well, you know, there are bombs dropping, and not everyone's used to that kind of thing. You know something,
not everybody. I was talking to actually my family about this, you know, would we move to Eretz Yisrael now? I did live there a long time ago, and I was thinking, would I pick myself up and go? And I was saying, yeah, I'd go if I could live in Jerusalem, if I got, you know what I mean? I was giving a lot of things. The truth is I'd go where Mashiach comes 100%. At the moment, I think wherever we are, we're unsafe. That's the truth. That's my feeling.
Yeah.
I don't know what everyone, you know, everybody, there's a lot of people making Aliyah at the moment.
Yeah, but right now, I want to tell you, in Israel, the vibe, I've been here 30 years. The vibe is we're getting ready for the Geula. It's coming, and that's it. It's like this huge electrified feeling. We're all feeling this. And it's nothing to do with the Arabs. People have such strong emunah about so many different things, and it's a feeling of closeness to Hashem that hasn't been, and people are really feeling very, very ironically safe here, and less safe when they talk to their other people, let's say family who was trying to come in from America for our wedding or whatever, they're like, oh, we're seeing what's going on and all of that. But we in Eretz Yisrael feel so safe because we feel that we're protected by Hashem, even though it doesn't appear that way, and even though it doesn't look that way, as a nation. Even though you're going to hear on the news terrible things about what this one's beating that one, and this one says this thing, and the army are wanting the Haredim, the real truth of it, person to person, is that we all feel very close, and we all feel that Hashem is looking after us.
You think it united I feel like it united people even if they were very religious or not. If you're Jewish, then you understand completely. I feel like that's what it did. Even like where I am in America, some people barely even know they're Jewish, right? But it feels like it's united everyone.
It really has, and it's a shame that the political class and the media go round and focus zoom lens on whatever they do, and it's not achdut, and it's not working together, and it's not the cooperation. They are doing quite the opposite. So I think it's very, very important. That's why I went to the base yesterday, because I feel person to person, you feel the person, as you said earlier, and you know the person, and you know when we're all singing together, and we care about you. We've come out here to be with you. Whatever you want, we'll do for you, because you're doing for us. And there is nothing like person to person for you to know what the truth is. The heart reads.
Heart of the Jew.
Yes, the heart of the Jew. So
I'm really glad you came on. I was going. Let me just go back for a second. I was looking for people at that time to show the achdus, and I really found it hard to find from women who would get up and speak from their side of the equation. And now I think there's many more who would say, look what's going on in Israel. Look at the good stuff that's happening. Look at what's happening in Klal Yisrael, like you say. It's unbelievable. We are really one nation, and we have one God, and that's the truth, and that will always be the truth. And we just have to come, make peace with it in our heads.
Yeah, I would also add that there's a lot of people who feel exactly as you're saying, look entirely different and have a different Masorah altogether, and it doesn't really matter here, because let's say a lot of the people who lived up north, they've been evacuated. And a lot of the people who live down south, they've been evacuated. And everyone is trying to cook and do laundry, and any kind of chesed that is possible. People are trying to find chesed to do one for the other. Not everyone, and not at all times. I don't want to make this too simple, but I want to give you a flavor of what's going on here, because it is entirely different than any other time. It's like a great zechus to be here at this time, and it's a great zechus to be living here at this time, being able to explain.
Part of it.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm really glad that you came. I'm really glad. I don't know what made me look today. I don't always look at everything, and today I actually looked, and I thought, wow, I this is what I'm going to do with the share, because I found the last few weeks I was doing all the talking, and it wasn't interaction. And I think this is what we need. We need to bring voices and tell people what Shabbos is really about, what Yiddishkeit is, what we are, what our whole Messiah is, because this is what we have to do. We have to connect to where we're from. I'm really glad that you joined us. Looking forward to getting this online, and I don't think I'm going to have to edit anything this week, so we could go straight on. And as usual, we'll be back in Mitzvah Shem next week with another person. Every week we ask everybody to just take a little something. It doesn't have to be major. It doesn't have to be anything anyone knows about. It's your own little thing that you're adding to your Shabbos, and make a commitment with that one thing just for this week. That's all I ask for. Afterwards, you can continue, you can whatever you want. But it's always that we should take something to make our Shabbos, make our connection to Shabbos important, make it us feel that we connected personally. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was really lovely. Thank you.
Okay.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.